8, 7. Is that right? Welcome to the Christ. Is that better? Welcome to the John and Paul Show, brought to you by AdventuresInMinistry.com. Brought to you by the Palisades Church of Christ, the Allons Church of Christ, and the Lads Leaders Program, and AIM. I am Paul Sperlin. The other guy is John Podine. And by the glass, we have many, many miles away, but as close as your arms can reach as far as social media is concerned, Caleb Sampson. This is the John and Paul Show. Welcome. This is going to be a great show. We got some news. We got some notes. We got some sports. We got some traveling stuff. We got some events and some topics. And right now, I got to give you some John Podine.
Good morning, everybody. Paul, I was a little worried. I was like, where did Paul go? You were talking to us, and then all of a sudden, you disappeared.
I just turned my volume up. I don't know what happened.
You disappeared on us, Paul. But yes, we're good to hear. And I just pulled into work. I just pulled into the office at Lads Leaders. And so Paul is happy now.
I'm happy that you're not driving anymore.
I'm happy that I'm not driving. I'm happy that I'm not driving either. Yes, it has been such a long last couple of weeks. But Paul, was in Denver last week. And now I'm back in Montgomery. Do you realize Montgomery changed so much in a week?
No, I do not realize that.
I didn't either. So, but there you go.
Well, John, we have a lot of things to talk about today. We have some news and some stuff going on as far as sports goes. NBA Finals are fastly approaching. The same with NHL. A lot of things are winding down. Baseball is in full swing. The Braves are struggling as usual, so everything, I guess, is normal.
We're back in the normal world right now, Paul, with how they're turning out, and we had such high hopes for the Braves this year.
We did, but it is what it is, and such is life, I guess.
And then reality did set in.
Speaking of reality, John, as you're making the tour of the building,
yes,
Lads Leaders National Office, I have a question for you.
Go ahead, shoot.
In 30 seconds or less, can you please give us a synopsis of how the Florida Gator program is going in football program these days?
Well, that's a good question. I'm a little disheartened right now that we've even had an arrest. And we had our incoming freshman that decided he wanted to go and run to beat people and go to the transfer portal, which I'm glad. Just go ahead and get him out. So Dan Mullen's finding some challenges here his second year.
That he is. Talk about the Jalen Jones situation. Do you know anything about that?
Well, he came in all hyped and everybody knew, it's rare that you're going to have a Tua or you're going to have a Lawrence, one of those guys come in here. And so you have all these people and they're high profile people with all these stars that are coming, and then they get on campus. They're sitting behind three good quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to get redshirted, and then it gets into trouble. And there's apparently some domestic violence that may have happened, or sexual assault that may have happened. And so basically the week after, he is on the transfer portal heading out.
Okay. Well, that's the Florida Minute for you folks. As you know, that was going to the Gators. As far as Alabama goes, I'll just tell you, we just letting our guys all go to Clemson. So that's all there is to it.
There you go. Hey, I watched something last night, Paul, that you would have enjoyed watching. On ESPNU, they had the SEC story. They talked about the first SEC championship game between Florida and Alabama in '92.
Really? Oh, yeah.
That was a cool show. I recorded it, so you'll have to come watch it.
I would love to see that. Yeah.
Yes.
How'd that turn out, John?
Well, they talked about it. Well, this was from the whole thing of like Roy Kramer starting it and everything like this, and how in fact, Roy Kramer was on there saying that, he so much thanks Antonio Langham for making that interception because, Alabama was ranked second. And if
Yeah.
they had lost that game, then they wouldn't have played, because everybody was dogging out Roy Kramer and the SEC for doing this this off the wall idea of doing an SEC championship game. And
Yeah,
it turned out to be the greatest thing and changed college football for history.
it did. The things he did for the SEC is incredible.
Absolutely.
Speaking of this, and let's get to Dabo Swinney a little bit, get a little sports and a little news before we get started. Have you noticed the trek that Dabo Swinney has made over the past couple of weeks?
I have.
Thought he was a Brewers fan, but now he's a St. Louis Cardinal fan. So what do you think about him going around all these professional games and all across the country? I mean, it's a party. I mean, I get what he's doing. He's promoting.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. I think he is doing what he's trying to get on the landscape. And I'm not saying Clemson's not on the landscape, because Clemson's pretty good on the landscape as it is. But he's trying to put himself up there. It's like this, Paul. When I was out in Denver and I went to a mall, I saw an Alabama thing. Like an Alabama helmet and things like this out there.
Oh, yeah.
You're not seeing Georgia. You're not seeing Clemson. You're not seeing this. But yet, even in Denver, you've got an Alabama thing on. In Dallas, they got UT, you have TCU, you have all these other schools, and then right there's an Alabama thing. And so I think what Dabo is trying to do is you've got to get that name recognition out. And I think he's doing what he needs to do. Yeah,
he is. He's doing that, and Nick Saban is sitting sideline at the golf tournament. So
with his hip replacement. Did you see any of those SEC shorts that they put out with him with that? It was hilarious. I was cracking up at it.
Yeah, they're going to milk that stuff for all it's worth. I will say this. I met with a lady who actually is really good friends with the family, the Saban family, and she said that he's not actually doing that well. So
oh, really?
The things the news people are telling us about how well he's doing, and it's a slow process on after post his.
Well, that's what Spurrier had.
Yeah, it's I guess, was it a full replacement?
I think so. And you saw him on the sideline with that AAF. I mean, he's like limping. He looks like he needs a cane or whatever.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. Any news or anything newsworthy you'd like to share before we sort of get into it?
No, right now I'm just trying to get back into not being jet lagged between Mountain Time and Central Time, much less when we go in August to England.
Yeah, we got a lot of things coming up, a lot of things people don't know about. They're like, what did you say?
That's correct.
So those are exciting. We're excited about that. I'm about to sort of transition into the next thing here, but I will ask Caleb if he could close in a little more on and get less of my office and more of try to make my face look a little smaller. Okay.
Paul, and let me say this for everybody. I just want to say Paul is working hard at something, and he's doing a fabulous job. I just want everybody to know that, and you can tell right now. And I just want to tell my buddy, my brother here in front of everybody, he's doing a fabulous job.
You're right. I shaved my beard, and now I am 25 pounds lighter. So.
I thought you were 30 now.
Yeah, it's 25 to 30. Yeah, I'm trying. I'm on the keto diet. I'm trying to lose a little weight and get healthy. And in fact, I'm speaking. I'm doing a thing next weekend in Hebron at Hebron Church, and I'm wearing a suit I haven't worn in 2 years. So I'm pretty excited. Pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, personal stuff there. Let's mention this. This is important too. Registration is open for AIMCon and for Inspire. Go to the Twitter feeds or go to the websites, and you will be able to find those and register for those. AIMCon, I mean, what camp can you go for just $125 per person? It's pretty awesome. That price is only good for May. So keep that in mind. It goes to $150 in June. And so that is the deal for that. But we're going to talk about our topic, and then we're going to get into our Versus series, which I'm not sure voting is over yet or not, but it was between the Rockies and the Smokies, and we're not talking about ball teams. We're just talking about the experience, the extravaganza, the landscape, the ins and the outs of both the Rocky Mountains versus the Smoky Mountains. And John and I'll get into that in just a little bit. But before we do that, let's get into our topic. And that topic today is two things. Number one, how to avoid burnout. And number two, what are the signs that you are dealing with it? It seems like so many times we talk about how to get better. We never really talk about the fact that you actually have this and you need to deal with this.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the thing, Paul, that a lot of people, we always think about burnout probably with churches. I mean, not churches, but necessarily business, people who do business and everything else like this. And I don't think we understand that sometimes, especially when we're starting out in ministry, guess what? Ministers can really get it, and maybe get it even harder than even a lot of people in the business world.
Yeah, most definitely. You have the rigors of the daily grind, and let's just face it, the daily grind can get you down, and so please be aware of that and take care of it. It's about taking care of yourself. You can't possibly know how to and be prepared to minister to the people if you don't first minister to yourself and to your own family.
Right.
That's biblical right there. I mean, you got to take care of yourself and your family before you can hope to help anybody else. And so those are some things we're going to look at today. Is what we do in dealing with it and how we know we got it. Okay, because sometimes you got an illness or something, and you know because you cough or you got a fever or something. It's like the symptoms are there. We, the John and Paul Show, are going to give you all the symptoms to burnout.
Yes. And Paul, I think this is something I think I guess we need to probably start this conversation is what are we talking about when we're talking about burnout? Because we're not just talking about people being tired, that may be a symptom and we'll talk about it. But what are we talking about it as burnout? We got Brock Johnson. He commented on here. He said, burnout is real. The toughest to deal with is when your spouse is feeling it, so it's not just a one person thing. It's not just a man thing, and it's a man and a woman. They can all happen. So what are we talking about when we're saying burnout?
Well, I think we're talking about sort of the tank going on empty. You're trying to find that motivation to carry you through the next day, and if it's a struggle, then that's something you need to deal with. And that kind of gets into some of the signs. And with the first sign, it obviously is fatigue.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't always live on a diet of spark every day.
Right.
But that does help your day.
Well, you're right, Paul. It's when you're sitting, there are a lot of times, and this is probably where ministers get it, because a lot of times the ministers, you're giving, and not necessarily getting it back, because you're always counselors deal with this too, of dealing with everybody's problems and trying to help them and trying to be there for everybody and be everything to everybody. And that tank just runs down. And I think that is one of the biggest things, one of the biggest signs that you see is that this fatigue, and you're just exhausted emotionally, you're exhausted mentally, you're exhausted physically, you're completely drained. That's more than just being tired or having a bad day. This is stuff where you can't even get going anymore.
Well, even in ministry, really in any job. I mean, it's tough for a person in the family, whether it be a mom or a dad, to that works a full-time job. It's tough to not bring work home with you.
Right.
Sometimes it's a teacher bringing papers home to grade. Sometimes it's a preacher coming home bringing sermons to preach, to practice, to work on. And sometimes it's the way, when you especially when you deal with people.
Right.
We are in the people business, and if you don't like dealing with people, you need to get out of the ministry, which is impossible because it's life, right? But as far as occupational goes, when you bring things home, it starts to affect the way you treat and interact with, like you said, with your wife, but also with your children. And it's like they get the last little bit of who you are. And as a youth minister, I will tell you that it's really difficult for your kids to watch you give the other kids your best, and you come home and give your own kids the rest. Right. And it's not a good look. And you got to try to prioritize that, and not just youth ministry. But I say that because your focus is kids and their spiritual development. Well, don't forget you're also more responsible for the spiritual development of everybody at your house.
It is. And I think you just nailed it, Paul. And I know we have a lot of youth ministers that are watching this show, and they watch our show, often talk about it. And that is one of those things where it is tough when you're sitting here and you're giving so much, especially with the season we're getting ready to come up to with the summer, of how much. Think about those days, Paul, when both of us were in youth ministry full time, where, we used to joke about this. Remember, it was about 2 or 3 summers in a row. We used to joke about we spent more time together than we did with our families, because whether it was we did 2 camps in a row. Remember that? We did 2 camps back to back, then we did a mission trip. And so that became it was a joke. And the sad part is, though, that's one of the challenges that we're faced of, we're giving so much to everybody, and then the family kind of sits back at home, and that affects you with your burnout.
Yeah. Another thing that goes with the fatigue part is getting plenty of rest, eating right, doing the right things. And I'm probably the pot calling the kettle black, because I'm not a early to bed kind of guy. You are. I will say that you are really good about getting to 8:30 or 9 o'clock, Grandpa. But make sure you get plenty of rest. Make sure that you get enough rest that come morning time, you're there to greet your kids and your family and in the right way, because that can have a big part of your fatigue, is not getting the right amount of rest and doing the right things. And I'm gonna say a few things diet wise. I'm not the master of this yet. I hope one day to be, but today I will tell you. And John's gonna hate what I'm about to say. We need to cut out the sodas.
Why am I going to hate that, Paul?
That's the northern phrase. I would say
pop.
Coke, but yeah, pop, whatever you call them. We in the South call it Coke, but
Coke. Everything's a Coke.
1,000 different drinks, we all call them Coke.
That's
but
right.
There's so much sugar and it's a cup full of cancer, and so that is not good for you. And I'll say this right now, I'm really big on the Coke Zero, because it's really and literally the only dietary type carbonation drink I can drink, but there's still some artificial flavoring in there that you got to be careful with. But what I'm saying is you need to balance that out. If that's part of your life and you drink sweet tea or you drink coffee, you drink that, make sure and add some H2O to there. Get some of the stuff I gave you in the water and try to keep your body cleansed as far as that goes. Have a good workout regimen. Try to walk occasionally and do some things to stay active, things like that. That'll help you to avoid that fatigue. But if you're going morning till night doing youth ministry or doing ministry in general, and you don't get those other things in, and you're too busy going through the window for all your meals, I'm telling you right now, I'm that guy. It had happened to me, and now I'm paying for it. Now I'm having to deal with it by not eating carbs.
Well, the thing is, Paul, and it's not just about that. I see Erica King joined us here, and she said this is why she loved her natural smart coffee. It kept her and her husband going. It is. And Paul and I, we joke about this a lot. And what you take into your body, I'm even trying to watch what I'm taking in my body, because I may not look like I'm overweight, but my blood acts like it's overweight because of cholesterol and different things like this. And so it does have a part to play in all this, especially with your burnout, because there are things that affect you. You mentioned something a second ago about sleep and everything like this. Those are some of the signs when you have insomnia, chest pains that start coming, shortness of breath, when you're dizzy, when you're just having what do they call it, heartburn and different things that start coming up, acid reflux. Those are all part. And so to help conquer and to combat some of this burnout stuff, Paul, we do have to eat better. We have to exercise. We have to take care of ourselves, because when you don't, that's when it all just starts piling on and piling on.
Yeah, and the fatigue that sets in is not having energy, not being when you stop being excited about teaching God's word, you are in burnout mode.
Yes.
That's just it.
In fact, Paul, I would say that's probably the number one sign of any job, but especially of ministry. If you can't get excited about your job anymore, if it doesn't excite you, if you don't wake up, and I'm not saying, yes, there are times when we hate dreading going to the office. We're not talking about that. But if you're not excited, if there's not a satisfaction level on there, you don't get that thrill. I mean, you are doing it. You have hit it. You've hit burnout,
Right.
especially in a people business.
So here's another thing to look for as far as yeah, I am. Caleb says he's mixing a spark. Yeah, I got my spark now.
Yeah, he's mixing it.
What's up? It's red, but it's cool. It's watermelon. All right. So another sign of burnout is lack of focus. Lack of focus.
Yeah.
This is definitely something that I know that I have seen and I've witnessed and been a part of. With lack of focus, let me give you a few examples. Not meeting your deadlines like you should, whether it be like a bulletin article or just an event you're trying to plan. Maybe it's your inability to achieve some really important goals, not just goals other people set, maybe goals you set for yourself. And you're like, I'm not even hitting the things I want to do. That's not good. Okay, that's not good at all. And something else that sets in with lack of focus is, and I hate saying this because I've had this most all of my life, and that is procrastination.
Yeah.
When you put things off, when you should be doing it, you're losing focus, and it means you're getting off that wagon, so to speak. Sorry, of dealing with the signs that go with what's going on that we're talking about today.
Well, Paul, this is something that I remember Candace, Dean Kane on campus talked to me about one time with it is there are a lot of times, and I think there are some people, especially in ministry, you have a lot of people that are very talented. They have a lot of abilities to be able to hide some of these things and to hide some of these efforts. And as well as I do, there are a lot of times that you can hide procrastination, or you can hide effort, or you can hide not getting things done through, I can get it done in the last second, or I can get this, I can just make it happen because you have the abilities to do that, if that makes sense. And that's one of those things that real talented people sometimes can fake through burnout and not realize it, or even in burnout, because they're getting things done because they can do it at the last second because they have the ability to do all that.
Yeah. One of the things too, when you think about lack of focus, is you need to avoid and get rid of the white noise of your life. Like, for example, I come in my office, I've got a television in here, and I got a computer over here, computer here, I've got iPad over here, and there's times you come into your office, you got a task you need to complete, and maybe you're suffering from burnout. The only way to kind of get through that is to turn off the other things. To have one thing you can do, because I'm telling you, my phone goes off constantly.
Yep.
And most of it's ministry, to be honest with you. It's more often now because it's stinking robot calls. And so sometimes I need to put my phone on mute just so I have a chance to get this work done. And so if this lack of focus, you can take your focus back if the other stuff's kind of out of your way. And that's tough to do. It's tough for me. But I know a lot of people it's really tough to do. But if you want to get something done to move to the next thing, that's something we're going to have to deal with.
Right. And that's the thing, Paul, to be able to do this. And this is where, and you and I have talked about this even with our jobs. I've talked to some of my friends about this too, of like, there are times when you're going to have to close out certain things and just say, no, I'm not going to answer this. No, I'm not going to answer this phone call right now. I know there's nothing bad with this person, but I've got to do this. Or when you're away from the office, of saying, you know what, it's 6:30 at night. I'm with my family. I'm with my kids. Unless somebody is being burnt or shot up, I don't know where that came from.
Terrible,
but it's like, I've got to step away to be able to do this. Because if not, Paul, what happens is you're going to detach somewhere.
Yeah.
And something is going to happen, and you're going to detach from it because your body is going to do that, because you can't keep it all up. The sad part is, especially in ministry, a lot of time where you and I have seen this happen in people's lives is we detach from our families.
Yeah.
And that's where you have trouble coming into the relationships.
That's absolutely true. One thing that's interesting, though, this burnout doesn't happen overnight. The time goes by, and days and months and sometimes years go by, that kind of things build up, and I'll be honest, and I think every minister has to admit, there are things that a member, a deacon, an elder, a person, a community person, someone comes to the door or knock, there's things that people can say that kind of weighs on you. And, and sometimes it kind of gets on your nerves. And so you're sort of holding on to that. There has to be a time when you got to let it go. You got to move on and go to the next thing. And the only way to get through it is to let it go. And it's tough to do, but it's definitely something you have to concentrate on that. You have to take some time. Jesus spent many times from 0 days to 40 in situations where he went away. He said, I got to get away from you people. He was right. Jesus is perfect for a reason. He knew what to do to fix things, and he went away. But one thing we notice is a constant. And this is something we need to understand is even when Jesus went away from people, apostles, disciples, guys, girls, debutantes, Jews, Gentiles, when he got away from these people, he still was in conversation with God. Right. And I think that's something that needs to be understood when it comes to overcoming burnout. You're not going to get through without him, without God. And so I think that's a good platform to start from when we're talking about dealing with this.
Well, and I think you just nailed it exactly right, Paul. With all of these things, is you've got to take some time, and this is our challenge being in a people person business. Mm-hmm. Is if you're in a people person business and you're a minister, like ministry, and you feel guilty almost of making this person, you don't want them to feel that that their opinion isn't important or their problem isn't important or anything else like this. And so what we'll say is, all right, I'll do it. And we'll take on their issues when we need to be drawing that circle and say no, and having those boundaries and say, no, I can't right now. Mm-hmm. And this is why a lot of time ministers need counselors. Counselors need counselors to be able to find a place to be able to let it all go and let it all out.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, John, what are some other signs that maybe we haven't mentioned that you think we need to talk about as far as that goes?
Well, I think our attitude changes a lot when we're suffering in burnout. Now, there's a couple of different things that I have seen from other people who have suffered from burnout take place. They become very pessimistic. They've lost their ability to be able to sit there and say and dream, maybe, and to say, "Oh, this is possible. We can do this," and being optimistic about it. They very become pessimistic. They get to a point where it's almost depression, not quite depression, but it's almost like a feeling of hopelessness.
Yeah.
Why am I even doing this? Nobody cares. I'm not gonna make any more money, or I'm not going to be able to do this, and the people are still going to complain, and it all just starts building up, and then
self-loathing,
yeah. And then usually when you get into a self-loathing part, you get angry, easy. You're very irritable quickly, and it pops, bam, 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 bam.
That's true. That's a good point. Another one is something we alluded to earlier, but kind of the physical symptoms. It can go one of two ways, where the person either stops eating and they're unhealthy, or they start eating and they're unhealthy. You notice some changes in a person's lifestyle. Those are some things that hopefully, and this is where you mentioned it. You mentioned how this is great. I'm happy about what you said about every counselor needs a counselor and every preacher needs a preacher, and we need someone to be accountable to, so they can look at us and say, "Dude, something's got to happen. Something's different. What can I do to help you?" I think it's safe to say, you and I have known each other for a long time, and I think you've been that person for each other over the years.
Yeah.
There's times you told me those things. There's times I've told you those things, but we're telling you right now that, and we don't mind being your person, but let us know because we want to encourage you, our listening audience. We want to help you, but we want everybody to find that person. And sometimes it's your spouse, sometimes it's not. But always definitely keep those relationships going as far as that goes. But be careful, because the thing of it is, it can creep up on you like nobody's business, and it doesn't go away overnight. And as long as it took to build it up, it's going to take a little time to come down or to come out of that valley to get back up on it. So
right, and I think that's probably where some people make a mistake with burnout, Paul, is things start getting better, you start making some changes, and then in a week or two, you're starting to feel bad. Oh, good, I'm out. No, this didn't happen overnight, because burnout probably takes a good 6 months to a year, if not more, to really set in, of just doing it and constantly doing it and constantly doing it. it's not going to take place in 2 weeks.
Right.
I'm not saying you're not going to feel better and it's going to feel great because you made some changes. These things take weeks and months to kind of make changes to it. It becomes ingrained within you of who you are.
And in addition to that, you mentioned it earlier, the insomnia is a real thing.
It is.
Not being able to sleep at all or wanting to be in the bed all the time. You can go
Sure.
off the end of the spectrum on that. But those are definitely some other things that we find when you can't concentrate enough to be able to sleep at night. You're being affected.
I remember Jerry Jenkins telling me back in the day, oh, brother Jerry, miss him, is he said, make sure. And he said this because I think we were talking one day and said, what's your key that you've just done ministry for so long? Because you know him, he was tirelessly a worker and passed it on down to Dale and Jeff and all that, tirelessly on working and everything. He said, you've got to take some time to yourself, even if it's a 20-minute walk. Do some exercise, do some relaxing activity, do something like that to help keep things going and running in the right direction. And if you don't, your body's going to catch up to. I think that's one of the beautiful things I've learned over these last few years, Paul, is that your body will tell you, hey, wake up here. It'll give you some warning signs.
It'll let you know for sure. For sure. Speaking of being let know, I think we don't have a producer anymore. And I hope we didn't say something that caused him to go into.
Maybe I was wondering if he went to the bathroom.
I'm gonna go fix this, and I'll be right back. Another one that is blatantly obvious, and every counselor would go here first that we haven't even mentioned yet, and that's depression.
Yeah.
Sometimes depression will set in. Depression, doubt will set in, and so don't let. And then what that is, that's the devil creeping in. On the doubt part, the depression part. I mean, it can be extremely clinical. So don't let it overcome you. Pray, create a good circle of friends, and be accountable to one another.
Well, Paul, I think when you just nailed something there is, and I think a lot of times with people with depression, of course, you don't know it until you're already in deep with it. And this is where we really want to encourage you. If you're watching this, if you have hit that point and you are in some depression, don't try to fight it yourself. Don't try to go about dealing with it yourself. Go find a licensed counselor. We can put you in touch with one, especially for ministers. Don't think that you're this big guy that will never be affected by these things. Reach out and find some help. Don't be too prideful. Don't be too prideful and thinking you can do this on your own, or there's nothing wrong with me. I'm a man. I can go find some help. And we'd love to help find you some person in the right direction. Yeah,
that's really good. I want to mention some things that Caleb mentioned here. He talked about the experience with Elijah, who had that victory, defeating the prophets Baal, and that his relationship with God, that there are times that maybe he wanted God to take his life because things were so bad. I mean, he was up against the wall, literally. And
sure.
But I love what he said next. Even being a mentor is kind of a release, and being able to help people is something that can help. And that's why when I say create a circle, I mean, it's not like it's, you're creating sort of an Ministers Anonymous kind of thing, but it kind of is. If we don't network, and that's what we're doing here with this show. That's what this is all about: is networking amongst ministers, Christians, men, women, guys, girls, adults, children. About what can we do to help each other in this Christian walk, and that's what this is all about. That's what these topics are about, and that's what this discussion is about. And it kind of gets me to the next thing is, if you're not, and you mentioned before, if we're not enjoying your job, you're not enjoying life, then you're definitely dealing with burnout. And so don't let lack of enjoyment turn your life over, but look for one another. And that kind of brings me to something I want to mention right here in talking about what this show is for. It's for you. It's for the listening audience. It's for the church. It's for people who aren't in the church. We want everybody in the world to take some of the things we're saying and take some of the things we talk about, take our experiences, whether it be educationally, whether it be physically, whether it be mentally. I think we cover all bases and have a lot of experience in different levels, different kinds of employment that John and I have had, different things we've seen, and things we will see. I mean, there are places we're going to go we've never been before. And so just know that if you have something in your family that is being affected, whether it be burnout or anything else, I mean, this is not a plug. This is just a ploy and an ask, a requirement, a request. Send us an email, and the email goes to the John and Paul Show at gmail.com, and give us topics. Give us 100 topics. Give us things you'd like to see us talk about that hopefully you can put this in front of your kids, your family, and it's something that can help you out. And that's what this is all about. I'm not closing out this topic, but I am getting kind of towards the end. And John, if you have any final words on that, I think we're ready for that.
Well, I just think, and I just want to say this to people who are watching this, and yes, the majority of the people that we have talked to over these years of doing the show are ministers, but this is not just for ministry people. This is for people in general. Is that it can be a tough place. I like what Colin Little says here. Is it can be a tough place to be when you face trials and issues and other things. And so that's what we want to hope that this show and us and friends that you have around, the Bible talks about bear one another's burdens. So fulfill the law of Christ. Weep with those who weep, rejoice with those who rejoice. And that's what we need to be as the family of God, is having those people that we can reach out to. And so we hope we can give you, even if just once a week, just for a few minutes, once a week, to be able to give you some encouragement and some things to help you in your walk, not just your business walk, but your walk with God, most importantly.
Very good. Very good. As we close this out, before we get into the verses stuff, Colin's with us. I would like to make an announcement here on his behalf, on behalf of his elders and a couple of congregations in the Decatur area. I'm not going to if Colin says don't, but and he knows what I'm talking about. But Colin, would you sort of give us an idea of if it's okay to discuss what's going on in Decatur right now between those two congregations? And if I can't, then it's going to kill everybody. It was like, what's he talking about?
Way to go, Paul.
I know. It's like, I put you on the cliff. It's time to push you over the edge.
Paul's going to suffer burnout in a second because he's going to be burnt.
I know, right? But Colin, there's a lot of things going on in your area, and I don't see him saying anything. So
he's ignoring you. Of like, we're not allowed to talk.
What's funny is last week, a friend of mine on Facebook, I'll say his name is Cody because that is his name. Cody actually preached on Burnout last week.
He says feel free to share.
Okay, on his congregation. I don't see it. I don't know why it's not coming up, but okay, good. What has happened is, and I want to have a show on this. I want to get Colin on here. I like to get one of the elders from the Grant Street Church to come in. His name is Jerry Sperlin. Very sharp dresser, really nice guy.
Say not related to you good at all, is he?
Good genes. And get my Uncle Jerry to come in and to talk about this. What's happened is the Grant Street Church in downtown Decatur and the Austinville Church, the Austinville congregation, in what I would call the other side of town, a nice side of town, has made the decision to make a merge. And so I am excited about this. They've been talking about this for months and months, and I know they've prayed over it a lot. Both sides have. I think both congregations have been through a lot over recent years, but I think this is a win for the city of Decatur versus having two split groups, not the split, but two smaller groups doing things over there when they can be doing all that work together. And so, and Colin, give us the name of the congregation. I know it's probably the name of that community, but I know they're going to change it. It's not going to be Austin or Grant Street, but it's going to be another name. If you can give that to us, we'll share that as well. But I'd like to have a show basically on that, because where I sit in this building about, 20 years ago, 6 years ago, that very thing happened at this location. The West End Church in downtown Birmingham and the Central Church of Christ in Birmingham had a merge, and they started what is now known as the Palisades Church of Christ. And we've done different things. We've planted different congregations that have become very successful. And so it's just it's a good thing. It's a good story. And
he said we are working on a vote this week between congregations.
Can we know the vote? Can this be our vote? Can we put this out there?
Can we help you with that,
for
Colin?
next week? Let's do this. Seriously, Colin.
The Versus series.
Yeah, the Versus series. How epic would it be? So, okay, this will be awesome. Okay, Colin, here's the thing. Is there an elder that's on staff in the office? Go in there and ask them want to put the vote online. And we would love to get that way you get to know what people think. What people think.
Okay, he says no name as of yet, but some suggestions are as River City, Decatur, Refuge, and quite a few other options.
Okay. What is the name of the elementary school like across the street from the church building where you sit now? Because that community, I want to say, what was that? Something Ridge. I could be wrong. Big Red teaches there, I think. He knows what I'm talking about.
We get some people talking about it, Paul. Brock Johnson says, great news about Grant Street in Austinville. The congregations in Decatur do a ton of things together anyway, at least for youth. So that makes a lot of sense. They do a lot of stuff, especially for youth up in the Decatur area up there. Why don't we come up with a name, Paul? We could call it
I do like River City. I like River City Church of Christ. That's pretty cool because Decatur is the River City.
He says he'll have to see what the elders say on Sunday about it. He said it is Cedar Ridge.
That's it.
But it's about to become Austin Middle. They're going to change the name to Austin Middle.
So where is the Cedar Ridge name come from?
Probably cedars overlooking a ridge.
That could be. The ridge does go up. Technically, the Neal community is the top of the hill behind the church building, and that's a ridge. Could Cedar Ridge be the name of the congregation?
Why don't we call it? Why don't we put a mixture of a name like Grantstonville?
Austin Street.
Austin Street. We got Austin Street. Hey, we can come up. That could be our vote for next week, Paul. We'll come up and combine names. We'll have
we'll
Austin
get you
Street or.
Hey, Colin, don't worry. Y'all don't have to worry about it. We'll take care of it. We'll get you the name. Don't worry.
Grantstonville. I like Grantstonville.
Grantstonville.
Mm-hmm.
Where did the sun come? Oh, Austin. I got you.
Yeah.
That's funny.
He said another proposed name was Granville.
Granville?
I like Cedar Ridge.
Isn't Granville Pines like an old folks home?
He says Cedar Ridge is a community next door or something like that.
Yeah, Cedar Ridge. I like Cedar Ridge Church of Christ.
I do too. I like that a lot.
Cedar Ridge and River City are my two favorites.
And they're meeting at the Austinville congregation, right?
What?
They're meeting at the Austinville building.
Yeah, Austinville building is way newer than the other one, and it's in a really good location. And so it's they did a lot of work to that building too, even after it was built. So
Caleb says he likes Refuge.
Yeah, the thing about Refuge is it kind of,
say it.
I'm not going to, but it's Cedar Ridge. I like Cedar Ridge. I like River City. What else?
I still like Grantstonville.
Yeah. Okay. So, Colin, just let your elders know. They don't have to worry about it. We got it covered.
We got you covered.
We'll let you know what the name of your church is.
Paul will call Uncle Jerry and tell him.
I'll tell Uncle Jerry this is what's going to be and whatever. Seriously, Colin, think about this. We won't do this next week, but in a few weeks, oh, wow. This could be our kickoff show in, August. Well, yeah, in August. Because August, what's the first Friday of August?
I don't know. We'll be in England.
No, we won't. I think it's the first. Is it the first?
Hold on. Let me look. It's the second.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, so on the second, we could kick off the new season with how we can talk about the summer and how things have gone.
Oh, we can talk about how that.
This could be the kickoff. This is good, and we can give them their name and everything. It'll be great.
That's exactly right, Brock Johnson. That's exactly what I was thinking too. He said, "Sound like Paul thinks Refuge sounds denominational."
I didn't say that.
That's what you were thinking.
See, I haven't seen Brock in years, but Brock knows me so crazy. It's so weird. That's so weird.
That's exactly what it is. Well, Paul, let's move on in here to our, since we're talking about versus series and things, and we'll talk
I've
about
got
that.
stuff to do. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, let's go. It's the versus series, so let's get started. Let us know when the door's shut. Are we good? Okay. Today in the versus series is the Rocky Mountains versus the Smoky Mountains.
Oh.
Both John and I have been to both. There it is. Both John and I have been to both. John more recently, aka last week. It has been a little longer for me, like 20-something years ago. Actually, not that long ago, about 19, 18 years ago. Went out there. So we're looking at and trying to decide which is more, it's not which is more appropriate, which is more beautiful. It's all in all, which do you like best, the Rocky Mountains or the Smoky Mountains? Ironically enough, the Rocky Mountains, right there in Sevierville, as you enter into almost getting into Pigeon Forge where the Rocky Mountains are, is
Smoky Mountains?
Yeah, Smoky Mountains. They have a baseball team called the Smokies. That's cool. And then in the Rocky Mountains, they have a baseball team, a Major League Baseball team called the Rockies. So I guess to that, you'd have to give the winner of that deal to the Rockies.
Definitely to the Rockies, yeah, because they got the bigger.
MLB, outweighs that. But John, what say you on this deal? What do you think?
Well, let me tell you something. I've got to say that before I left, definitely, being partial, being home and watching, going to the Smokies, going to Pigeon Forge every year, and it's really cool driving in the middle of it when those clouds are down low and give you that smoky feeling. I love driving through there, but wow, do I have to tell you, it's still so cool. When I went out to the airport to pick up a couple people and you're driving back in toward Denver and you see snow on the top of the Rocky Mountains, that was really cool.
Yeah. I went out to the Rocky Mountains when I lived in Maryville. And that's been about, I guess, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And went out there for a youth ministry deal. I won't talk about how that went, but when we went there, grass was on the ground when we flew in on Monday morning, and Tuesday morning we woke up and snow's everywhere. It's like the next day, like 2 or 3 feet. It's crazy and beautiful. And it's just, everything is just right. Everything is on point. Everything's classy in the Rockies. And it's just, I don't know. It's just really, of course, everything's probably super expensive as well. A lot of the things you see as far as the grandeur and the beauty there, the Air Force Academy is real. You get that over there at Colorado Springs. I'm gonna
tell you something, Paul. If I was to move to Colorado, I would move to Colorado Springs.
Yeah, beautiful town.
Oh my word, yes. Caleb asked, did I get to go up on the mountain? No, I didn't, or anything. It was crazy high just to be where I was. But let me tell you something. Because I told you, Paul, I stopped by on my way back. I stopped through Colorado Springs and stopped at the Air Force Academy. Oh my goodness! Just when I was walking in the visitor center, and I guess it's Pikes Peak. I guess that's what's right there. Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah, we went up there and drove about as far as we could drive while we were up there. Me and Stephanie, she went with me, and it was to the point where it was almost dangerous to drive on the snow, and so we had to.
You Southerner.
Yeah, it was. I know, right? I forgot to bring my chains to put on my tires, but it was awesome. It was beautiful. Now, let's compare hanging out and doing stuff when you look at the Rockies versus the Smokies. In the Rockies, everything is set just right, and it's kind of on point. When you get over into the on the other side, on the Smoky part, especially, of course, unfortunately, Gatlinburg has been obliterated or burnt down a few years ago. They've tried to build it back up again, but it's, to me, Gatlinburg's always been sort of a darker side of town versus Pigeon Forge, and it's just a little grungy and sketch. And so, but the thing about the Smokies is it's so much closer to us than the Rockies. So it's a southern fence, but it's just because it's more available to us than the Rockies. But a vote's got to be made here. So I'm going to turn to my our producer and ask him what was the votes, how many we have, and who won. Do we know?
He is counting with them.
He is. He's looking at it, isn't he?
I will say this. Caleb mentioned this. You can see a lot further in the Rockies due to low humidity. I will say I think the landscape does play a part with all that, because in the Smokies you have so many more trees, the grass that's actually growing versus out in Colorado. And I will say, man, you could see for miles out there with the landscape. Yeah.
It is wide open.
Oh, the Smokies won 63% to 37%, Paul.
Wow.
Which is funny because I'm going to use one of the co-host votes here, and I'm going to say the Rockies after being out there versus the Smokies.
Really? Yeah, I mean, it's wide open. It's beautiful. I'd go back in a heartbeat. If you had a choice to go to one or the other, if you could beam me up, Scotty. I mean, and let's just say, and no offense to any big youth rallies, but let's just say there's not a big crowd at either location. All right. I know people are thinking, I'll go to the mountains for CYC and that's it. That's unfair because you can't get anywhere or do much when that's the case because the world is there, which is fine. But if it's clear, the streets are clear, you can do whatever you want to do. Where would you go? If you didn't have to travel, beam me up, Scotty, Rockies, Smokies.
Man, you're getting me after I just came back from there.
That's quite unfair to you.
I mean, honestly, and I love the Appalachian Mountains. I love going over there, but man, I've got to be partial right now to Rockies.
I'm going to need to lead in with you there, my friend, because probably because I hadn't been there so long and I remember how awesome it was. And if you ever have a chance to go up that direction towards the Rockies, take that shot because there's nothing like it in your lifetime. As parents, you need to take your kids who understand what they're doing. Okay, don't take a baby out there, but take your kids age 10 and up. They will love it. They'll enjoy it. And honestly, we can go to CYC every February, but the Rockies are something special to behold. And I guess that's kind of where we are on our versus series.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, the summer is about to be upon us. We're almost done here in May. We have, 2 more shows?
Something like that. Yeah,
so
I think it is.
In one of these shows, maybe 2 of these shows, we need to get some comparisons for some upcoming summertime movies. And so if you would like to put in these show notes what you would like to see us compare and put a versus, let us know. If you throw us a little Star Wars, Star Trek, just know that will happen in December with a big release of the Star Wars movie, which isn't fair to Star Trek because it's, we've already decided what we're going to do with that.
Yeah.
But how about this? Closing this out. How about Disney already says we're going to have another 3 episodes of the Star Wars saga after 9, 10, 11, and 12 in 22, right? Yeah, 22,
24, 26.
26. So pretty exciting. It's just going to get into another genre of people we don't really know, and it's a different story. The question is, how can it continue to be a Skywalker story when you continue to go out that far out? Of course, we don't know who's Skywalker anymore. We'll find out when that happens.
That is true. We will see very quickly.
John, anything else you got before we get out of here?
Man, brother, nope. Just go to work.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Couple things to make everybody aware of. Caleb tells us it's about to get lit in a Christian manner. All right? Light your Christian light, because what we're going to do is after Inspire, and we really would love for y'all to come to Inspire. If you don't know what it is, you've never been, you need to go. It's cheap as far as the camp goes, but it's awesome as far as where you are. It is. It's 125, John. It's 125. So to do that, but when it's over on Thursday morning, Friday morning, we leave. John and I leave, and we head to Cookeville, Tennessee. We're Allons, Tennessee, and we're going to pick up our brother Caleb, and we're going to do some on the road shows. I mean, when we're stopped to get gas, we go in and mess with the person that's in the store. We're gonna let them be a part of that show, and it's gonna be awesome. We're gonna let our Christian light shine and do some stuff as we go towards Paintsville, Kentucky for the Oath Youth Rally. And I know that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Lonnie Jones and Kyle Budd will be there. John and I will be there with Caleb, and we'll actually do one of our shows live as a session there, a Q&A session. So a lot of really cool things happening. That's the weekend of the 7th of July. And then the next time you will probably hear from us will be AIMCon 2 weeks later on campus at Faulkner, brought to you by the AIM, Everything AIM. And then August the 6th through the 13th, John and I will be on a trip to
on our favorite rocket ship going.
I wish we could take a rocket ship. I don't know. But we're going to London, England. And yes, we will do a show live from London. And we would love to interact with you. And I'll try to get it where you can just call in or you can be a part of it, be on Facebook, and let us talk about what's going on in the world of things at that time. And that'll get us to the summertime. We're excited. Hope you'll stay with us and take this and go back and watch other shows. There's some things we've made fun of each other, and hopefully set some things out in your Christian life as well. For John Podine, that's Caleb Sampson. I'm Paul Sperlin. This has been the John and Paul Show. Don't forget to go to YouTube, subscribe. The John and Paul Show, at John and Paul Show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Thank you to the Allons Church. Thank you to the Palisades Church. Thank you to the Lives Leaders Program and adventuresinministry.com. Inspire, AIMCon, sign up. We love you. God be with you and take care of you. And God bless you. God bless America. Have a great week.
Today's show is brought to you by Adventures in Ministry. Check them out at adventuresinministry.com or go to the Google Play Store or iTunes App Store and download today. Also brought to you by Exposure Youth Camp, or EYC. It's hosted at the end of each year. This year it will be December 27th through the 30th, and you can find out more by going to exposureyouthcamp.com or get the apps today. Also brought to you by the Palisades Church of Christ, located in Birmingham, Alabama. Check them out at palisadesfamily.net. The schedule of the John and Paul Show coming up. If you have the opportunity to be with them, check it out. Or go to our website, johnandpaulshow.com, to know more. Of course, we want to invite you to come back next Friday at 10 a.m., Lord willing. We'll be with you to have all the ministry talk and the sports talk as well. Hope you go out and make it a great day.